Hello kids, how are you? I hope you all are good. Today we'll start with a new chapter, that is forms, frames and more in HTML5. So what is HTML? HTML is hypertext markup language. So HTML5 is the fifth version of HTML where you learn to develop web pages for your website, how to structure it, how to make forms, and all these things you are going to learn in this chapter today. So basically HTML form, they are required to collect the different kinds of users inputs such as their contact details or their email address, their phone numbers, their credit card information. So to retrieve all such kind of information, we need an HTML form on a website. So we'll learn to make this today. So let's begin with forms, input elements, setting up a form, frames in HTML5, inline frame tag, iframe, list in HTML5, creating tables in HTML5. So let's just start the chapter.
It is called a form. Forms. HTML forms are required to collect different kinds of user inputs, such as contact details like name, email address, phone number, credit card information, etc. Forms contain special elements called controls like input boxes, checkboxes, radio buttons, submit buttons, etc. Users generally complete a form by modifying its controls, example, entering text, selecting items, etc., and submitting this form to a web server for further processing. Input element. This is the most commonly used element within HTML forms. It allows the user to specify various types of user input fields depending on the type attribute. An input element can be of type text field, password field, checkbox, radio button, submit button, reset button, file select box, as well as several new input types introduced in HTML5. The most frequently used input types are described below. Text field. Text field is a one-line input field allowing the user to input text. Text field input controls are created using the input element with a type attribute having value as text. Password field. Password field is a type of text field in which the text entered is masked using asterisk or dots for prevention of user identity from another person who is looking onto the screen. Password field input controls are created using the input element with a type attribute having value as password. Radio buttons. Radio buttons are used to let the user choose exactly one option from a list of predefined options. Radio button input controls are created using the input element with a type attribute having value as radio. Checkboxes. Checkboxes are used to let the user select one or more options from a predefined set of options. Checkbox input controls are created using the input element with a type attribute having value as checkbox. File select boxes. File select boxes are used to allow the user to select a local file and send it as an attachment to the web server. It is similar to a text box with a button which allows the user to browse for a file. Instead of browsing for the file, the path and the name of the file can also be written. File select boxes input controls are created using the input element with a type attribute having value as file. Text area. Text area is a multiple-line text input control which allows the user to provide a description or text in multiple lines. A text area input control is created using the text area element. Select boxes. Select boxes are used to allow the users to select one or more than one option from a drop-down list of options. Select boxes input controls are created using two elements which are select and option. Reset and submit buttons. Submit button allows the user to send the form data to the web server. Reset button is used to reset the form data and to use the default values. Frames in HTML5. Frames allow to have multiple sections of the browser window, called frames, each showing their own .html file within the frame. This is used to be common practice when trying to show separate sections of a site in separate sections of the browser window, such as a header at the top, navigation at the side, and the rest is page content that someone can scroll down without making the header and navigation disappear. The frames divide a window into two or more document windows. Frame set. To create frames in HTML, frameset tag is used. The frameset tag replaces the element in frameset documents. The frameset tag in HTML defines how to divide the window into frames. Each frameset defines a set of rows or columns. If frames are defined by using rows, then horizontal frames are created. If frames are defined by using columns, then vertical frames are created. The values of the rows columns indicate the amount of screen area each row column will occupy. Each frame is indicated by frameset tag, and it defines what HTML document to put into the frame. Now, look at the following table. Rows specifies the number of rows and their height in either pixels, percentages, or relatives lengths. Default value is 100%. Cols specifies the number of columns and their width in either pixels, percentages, or relatives lengths. Default value is 100%. Name assigns a name to a frame. This is useful for loading contents into one frame from another. Long sec specifies a long description. This can elaborate on a shorter description specified with a little attribute. src specifies location of the frame contents, for example, the HTML page to be loaded into the frame. Nor says specifies whether the frame is resizable or not. Scrolling specifies whether the frame should be scrollable or not. Auto yes. No frame border specifies whether the frame should have a border or not. Possible values 1. Border 0. No border. Margin width specifies the margin in pixels between the frame's contents and its left and right margins. Margin height specifies the margin in pixels between the frame's contents and its top and bottom margins. Inline Frame Tag iframe. The iframe tag is used to define an inline frame that enables to present another HTML document within the same window. Lists in HTML5. HTML lists are used to present list of information in well-formed and semantic way. There are 3 different types of lists in HTML, and each one has a specific purpose and meaning. Unordered list. It is used to create a list of related items, in no particular order. Ordered list. It is used to create a list of related items, in a specific order. Description list. It is used to create a list of terms and their descriptions. Unordered list. An unordered list is created using the UL element, and each list item starts with the LI element. The list items in unordered lists are marked with bullets. Ordered list. An ordered list is created using the OL element, and each list item starts with the LI element. Ordered lists are used when the order of the list's items is important. The list items in an ordered list are marked with numbers. Description list. A description list is a list of items with a description or definition of each item. The description list is created using DL element. The DL element is used in conjunction with the DT element which specify a term, and the DD element which specify the term's definition. Browsers usually render the definition lists by placing the terms and definitions in separate lines, where the terms' definitions are slightly indented. Creating tables in HTML5. HTML table allows to arrange data into rows and columns. They are commonly used to display tabular data like product listings, customers' details, financial reports, and so on. A table can be created using the table element. Inside the table element, one can use the tr element to create rows and to create columns inside a row. The td elements can be used. A cell can be defined as a header for a group of table cells using the et element. Spanning multiple rows and columns. Spanning allows to extend table rows and columns across many other rows and columns. Normally, a table cell cannot pass over into the space below or above another table cell. The rowspan or colspan attributes are used to span multiple rows or columns in a table. The colspan is used to create a cell that spans more than one column, adding captions to the tables. You can specify a caption or title for your tables using the caption element. The caption element must be placed directly after the opening table tag. By default, caption appears at the top of the table, defining a table header, body and footer. HTML provides a series of tags head, body and foot that helps to create more structured table by defining header, body and footer regions respectively.